trick. Now, when we already planned something, like say we chopped down the problem statement, like we decided that we are going to accept same taxation mechanism. Now, what happens? Because see, when we say we are going to adopt same taxation approach, but in that case, we will require same payment approach as well. Right? Pay should be same, no matter which country you belong to. Your denomination criteria might be different. How exactly you give the distribution, it depends. It may vary from country to country. But when we are saying that it is going to vary, then ultimately new taxation may not be adopted directly. Because there might be different flaws in terms of calculations of most of the things. How exactly the salaries are calculated. Now, if suddenly we are making some change, we are planning some change, it is not that much easy to adopt the change. Making some small change in the system, which was exactly working fine earlier, and suddenly you came and you said, now let me change this. Every time problems cannot be solved with that mechanism. And when we do deal with information system, ultimately there comes an important role to be played by hardware and software. But we have to go beyond that now. Now, suppose you already built, now let me go into say, building a house. So you actually planned that there would be 4-floor building where each floor would be containing 2 different houses numbered as 1, 2. First floor 1, 2, second floor 3, 4, third floor 5, 6, and so on. Now, how the numbering should be? So whether we are going to go with 1, 2, 3, 4, or whether we are going to take 101, 102, 103, or we are going to take 1001, 1002, 1003. Adopting this change, everywhere that change is to be made. Like when we said taxation system is to be adopted, at every place we have to make the changes. Now, making change doesn't mean that you are going to go to one particular user interface and then you are going to make the change. Okay, it was earlier 20%. Now, across everyone would be paying 30% taxes, 30% of income as an tax. Now, it is not changing 20 to 30. So, we'll require skilled peoples who would be doing this part. Then we have to appropriately manage the peoples. Now, each one of you is working on a project. Am I right? How many team members are there in your team? Yes.
For this task, we are 18.
In general, in your team.
In my team, total 20.
20.
We have 5 to 10.
5 to 10. Now, suppose you are a team leader. How you distribute the work within them? What would be your criteria? Now, today, suppose you are doing X, I am doing Y, somebody is doing Z. Tomorrow, we cannot decide that, okay, now whoever was doing X would be doing Z from tomorrow. No. We need to understand whether do we have that much skill set. So depending upon the problem statement, we have to adopt the skills. If it cannot be adopted, then we have to recruit set of peoples. We have to manage the peoples in some proper order so that there should not be any problem coming up. So whenever we are planning about designing a system, actually we are planning of designing the organization or redesigning the organization. How? See, your country already adopted an taxation mechanism. Now suddenly, because of the rule forced by the governing body, and now you have to adopt that particular mechanism, taxation mechanism. So every system that you have is going to get changed. And that's where I am saying organization have to be working on redesigning, remodeling itself. Now, how exactly it is going to impact the system? Was it easy to adopt computing technology rather in place of the manual work? Do you think it was actually adopted by everyone earlier?
No,
No,
Why? What was the reason?
fear of job loss.
One aspect is job loss. What is the fear in front of us now because of AI? See, suppose if I want a program to be written, that day I showed you, like in Chat GPT, if I simply write, give me a program which computes factorial of n, it automatically would be writing that program. So I don't require a programmer now. In Kerala, in India rather, one of the state, we saw that a teacher was replaced by a robot teacher. It was properly accepted by the state. But do you think we are going to get same impact the way a physical teacher is and a machine in front of you is?
At present, no, but maybe in future.
Correct. In future, they may work on this problem because that is the current problem. So maybe like to understand this AI part, I suggest you after the exams, if you can watch a movie called I, Robot. I don't know whether I communicated you or not, but you should see that Will Smith's movie called I, Robot. I don't know what platform actually it is transmitted, but you can search for it. I, Robot movie. Now, why I suggested it? When we are adopting that robo as a teacher, how exactly the robot will be reacting with respect to the classroom? Now see, I don't know where exactly you are sitting, what exactly you are doing currently. Those who are speaking, I can say that, okay, they are listening something. But that doesn't mean that if you are not speaking, that doesn't mean that you are not attending the class. No, it is not like that. But now how exactly I'm going to adopt this robo teacher? What are the flaws if I accept robo teacher as a technology for my system or for my country? What would be challenges in front of us?
Maybe understanding different personalities in the class.
Understanding different personalities in the class. Okay.
The emotional part will be missing, I believe.
Yes. Emotional part definitely is missing currently.
Emotion, empathizing, all these kind of stuff, sir.
Mhm. Okay. Any other thing?
But maybe the robot will be only for to conduct the course or the whatever is it assigned for. So emotions will not be taken into consideration, you know.
Correct. So like when I say, have you understood this? Right. Then somebody may say, do you have any problem? Do you have any query with this? So you are going to suddenly reply to me. Correct? When I am a physical teacher, but when it is a machine, the answers to the queries, common questions, it will say, okay, why don't you read FAQs? I have already created an FAQ for you, but everything may not go with FAQ. So when country is adopting those robot teacher, they must understand how this system will affect the business process. Like you replace business process by the education system. How exactly that it is going to make a complete change? We don't know. It could be positive change. But looking towards the kind of inputs given by you peoples and even I think about is robo teacher may not be the good solution. Because when some of you rightly pointed out that emotions are not considered at all there. Now, only adopting the system is not the solution. We have to see what effects are there on the organization as a whole once that system is adopted. Correct. And then, nextly, if we want that system to be successful, how can we make it fruitful? We need to understand that part as well. Now, when I say we have to understand or address this part with respect to what he was pointing out towards emotion, how will you teach emotions to the system? See, like how do you communicate that you are sad? So you just send an emoji in the chat window or maybe status of yours. You put a sad emoji over there and people do understand, oh, something happened with respect to this person. But like if I miss the emoji, like if I'm sad and the emoji that was added is laughing loudly, LOL, interpretation would be not done properly. It would be misinterpretation. And that can lead to multiple other problems. Correct. So now if at all I have to adopt these systems, then I ultimately require and creating comprehensive knowledge of the system so that the challenges can be resolved. Now, when we talked about common taxation approach to be adopted, we started talking about, okay, do we have same pay structure? If as a teacher I get say 1 lakh in India, in Doha I am getting say in like I'm talking about in rupees perspective only. Say if it is 1.5 lakh. So why this difference is? Some country maybe give only 20,000. How do we calibrate? How do we really adopt the new change? Because if it is going to be different, then my taxation definitely would be failing. It may happen that those who are earning a lot may not be paying tax in a lot manner or a big manner, but the person whose earning is low, he or she is paying more tax than the one earlier. So, like when we analyze the system, actually we did what? We tried creating comprehensive knowledge. We tried creating a knowledge base which would be helpful for the system solvers other than the ones who actually were coming up as a plan which would be a sustainable plan. So if I adopt the change, what impact would be there on it? Whether that impact would be positive impact or whether that impact is a negative impact. How do we resolve it? So whether the company is going to decide this or the individual owner of that particular product is going to decide about. This would be a big problem in front of us whenever we are trying to map it with respect to the system. Impact would be huge. And that's why we said we will require comprehensive knowledge so as to help in anticipating the challenges. Now, here, when we said that taxation would be adopted for some employees who are, say, from IT industry, what happens if we are talking about other than IT industry? Will we adopt the suggested change? So it cannot be that from tomorrow something is going to happen. Like we had a scenario earlier. Our Prime Minister came live on one day and he said that currency change would be there from tomorrow onwards. It took lot amount of time for us to adopt the new system. Even if I plan to adopt it, my superiors are not. So these levels where the change should be done, we have to promote various degrees of organizational change by making use of information technology. We have to really work out on this front. Like if we make this change, what would be the risk? What would be the reward from it? Now suppose like you must be having some idea behind like why you took admission to this course. Am I right? You must be having some goal in your mind with respect to encashing this degree. Am I right?
Yes.
What if it goes wrong? Just a case. Think of this. What is the risk? Suppose my degree doesn't get adopted by the organizations in your country.
If it's only from that side, then it will be very negative for the person himself.
Correct.
If you take it in both positions to take it as a personal achievement, that could be less impact on the person himself.
So ultimately, what we are trying to tell, there can be a risk. Now, suppose, like if I say, like what we used to do in school days, we used to ask our teachers, can you please let us know what would be the important questions that may occur in the examination, or can you let us know important topics which we should prepare for so that we can write the answers of those questions very easily. Now, suppose I am giving you topic A, topic B, topic C would be important. And suppose tomorrow, while the exam is, most of the questions are dependent on topic 4 and topic 6 and topic 1, not 2 and 3. Now, how our reaction would be in that case? So there can be a risk. Correct? There can be rewards. What are the change that we are adopting? It takes a lot amount of time to survive from that change. Change is not easy to accept. Because when we do talk about, say, some particular problem statement related to, say, religion for a while, each religion is having its own mechanism of implementation of rules, regulations by them. And now we are adopting this new change. And because of this change, if they are going to lose their identity in terms of the religion, then ultimately, do you think they will adopt? It would be difficult. So we have to plan it now effectively such that the changes would be adopted or accepted by every individual stakeholder of the company or organization or the country. Once it is adopted, then you can plan, think of implementing this problem statement in terms of a solution. Now, to achieve this, one thing is what you can think of automation, bringing in automation techniques. Now, in your organization, there might be some kind of automation actually implemented. Yes, no?
Yes, sir. Like we do some kind of, if we have any paper form or something, we do the automation for it from soft copy to hard copy as an application.
So you mean to say e-governance,
Yep,
correct?
we are oil and gas actually. Yeah,
Oh.
which is part of government, yes.
Okay. So in place of document, now you are sharing soft copy without giving the physical copy. Because
Yeah, I mean, if the form is actually used by a paper, we convert it completely to a form, to automation form. So instead of using it as a paper, they use it as a formula system.
okay. So what would be the, like, when this change is adopted? What was the
That
deal? When you
we did this to stop using papers anymore.
okay. Now, when this change was suggested initially,
Oh,
how much time it took to adopt this change?
depend on the project, depend on the form. Like what we analyze the form and we see, like if it requires some workflow, approvals, multiple approvals. What is the process? Depend on the form itself. We decide of the timeline how long it will take.
So when this change was suggested, it required some amount of time rather to get established. And then when we saw that now everything is established, let us stop making use of physical documents. Am I right?
Same thing applicable for Corona. That
Yes,
time
sir.
there was no physical interaction. They went for digital signature.
Correct.
Yes, digital signature. Yeah, and we call it lazy approval.
Now, if you are techno savvy, then there should not be any issue, correct? But if you are not, then
We had to educate the user.
educate the
Yes.
user. And that's where adoption comes into picture. So that is a risk probably. If your employees deny to accept the change, the change, can we think of this? The suggested change is rejected.
As an organization, yes, if management decides that we have to implement, let employee say no, but it will be implemented.
Correct. So that
Exactly.
is hopeful
Yes.
technique. Then, like when they say that it is adopted, they must have carried out risk analysis. What happens if this happens? Correct. So when automation is implemented at the end, we have to really find out whether this automation really made a positive impact or negative impact. So when we said that we don't want to preserve the documents, but now let us think upon the amount of work contribution by that individual employee before adopting and after adopting the change. Will there be any difference between these two?
Yes,
I think
yes, things will be faster.
This is our opinion.
Generally, because if in case of digital signature, you see when the things paper has to move from one department to other department, but in case of digital, you just a few seconds away.
Correct. Now, let us say I am one of the member in that chain of approval. Okay. Now, if my digital signature is used, but I am not the one who used it, can I reject?
Yes, of course.
Now, when I say this, ultimately, actually, we are trying to create problems to stop this automation. It happens generally, like it takes lot amount of time to adopt the change. So we are saying automation would be helping employees in their daily tasks. But if it is going to create many more problems, new problems, now what will happen?
We have something called lessons learned. And we follow that for all kinds of cases of projects. When we do, that's why we do testing for all these kind of things. So we can study all the user's experience before we release the project.
So all use cases would be evaluated. What happens if
Yes.
this happens? What kind of action would be there after this particular action happens? Whole study needs to be carried out. Okay. So that study is to be translated in terms of now a computing system. And when I say computing system, I mean by programming. Then somebody was talking about testing. Okay. Then after testing is done, when you identified some flaws in the system, you tried for conversion and then production and maintenance. So in general, these are the steps one by one to be followed, no matter what problem you are solving. Now, suppose if I am a contractor who builds the house, now you were told by somebody that Nitin Patel is one of the best builder. You should talk with him and get it done. My role is not only to build the house, but my role is what? So take care of it for at least next 5 years. Then after 5 years, if problem is there with the product, then ultimately it is problem of my wife, not me, as in a case. So how much support would be given by the organization? Like Microsoft has stopped supporting Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10. Now only Windows 11 would be there. Now, if Microsoft is going to adopt this change, how do you think your company would be adopting this change? How fast will it adopt this system? Yes, please. So maintenance would be definitely there. Like what are the change that was suggested if it is adopted? And if some change occurs tomorrow, again, in the problem, we have to resolve it appropriately. So production and maintenance also would be one of the important role that would be played over there by the system. Now, when we deal with all these stages, how exactly you solve the problem? Your problem solving mechanism, my problem solving mechanisms may lead to same solution, but our problem solution mechanisms might differ. And in computing terminology, we do call it as software process models. Where actually you do tell how the problem should be solved. Our traditional techniques may not work every time. We have to go with an alternative solution too. Now, if at all I want you to give me two numbers whose addition will result to 27. Give me two numbers whose addition results to 27. What would be answers for this? How many answers would be there for this?
There will be multiple answers.
For example,
220 plus 7, 210 plus 17, 100 plus 127. There will be multiple.
multiple. So we are talking about only positive solutions. Am I right? If we want 27 to be sum, can we not take 28 plus minus 1? But when we said that, when we understood the problem statement was misinterpreted by us. What was told, you have to take two numbers, add them, and result should be 27. But we never thought about whether like 28 plus minus 1 will result to 27 also. We talked about 26 plus 1, 25 plus 2, 24 plus 3, 27 plus 0. But what happens if second parameter goes below 0? Correct? So now in this situation, we are not sure which solution would be perfect. So we need to carry out some kind of testing also of the system. How the testing would be? So generally you call it as quality assurance. Like, do you have seen some kind of scenario that system was implemented by putting lot amount of effort and your quality analysis team actually rejected it?
Yeah, it
Happen?
happens.
Yes, it can happen. And if it happens, ultimately the problem statement requires rewritten. Rewritten. If it is to be rewritten, then again we have to make sure that it will not lead to ambiguity. Next stage would be what? We have to streamline the different tasks. Your problem statement should be divided into two different sub-problems. Like yesterday, let me share with you a scenario that happened with me. I was supposed to purchase something. And at the same time, I'm supposed to carry or I'm supposed to help one individual so as to reach to some place. Now that individual was not having any mode defined with respect to returning back at home. And I'm doing my work as well as I'm supposed to work with the student or work with that individual. It may not be accepted at the same time. But if I solve it separately, then probably yes. So now what are the stages that I chop down to solve a problem statement? Can I create rationalized approach which would be adopted by every sub problem that can be solved? Now, if at all I have to streamline, what would be the kind of approach that I'm going to apply so that I always will have continuous quality checks and improvements involved into that particular problem statement. Like, let us repeat the example. I wanted 27 as a result of addition of two numbers. What would be the best solution among the solutions that might be given by each individual of us? Which one do you think would be better? Adding two numbers together, reaching to 27. 27 plus 0, 26 plus 1, 26 plus 2, 26 plus 10. Right? So we need to adopt it in such a way that we haven't violated the standard operating procedure. It should be streamlined properly with respect to quality checks. Right? And later, what are the workflow that is decided? It needs to be analyzed properly. Whether the movement from one place to other is happening in a proper order or not. So earlier we said that there would be some 4 or 5 stages starting from analysis, design, implementation. Here we said that it would be a contiguous or continuous approach. So suppose you have to build a house, the example that I was giving earlier. How do you show how your house will look like at the later stage to the customer? If you are from builder's domain, who is building the house? Now you are
House should look more valuable than they are paying.
okay. Any other thing? How will you visualize that house? Because it is in the plan mode.
Prototype.
prototyping, one of the best approach. If I can create a model of that house and show that that model might be physically created or it could be presented through by making use of different tools available around.
Prototype 3D model.
Yes, prototype, it is prototype only, 3D model or whatever, like you are creating using software or physical cardboards, everything would be a prototype. No matter which system mechanism, development mechanism you adopt, whether you are applying, talking about rapid application development, you are talking about linear sequential approach, the way that we earlier talked about, one by one, or whether you are talking about random evaluation mechanism. All these things needs to be verified at proper end with respect to whether the workflow is proper or not. If we see some problem that is arising later, we have to rearrange, reorganize the tasks. And when we decided that we are going to computerize, ultimately we tried putting out a lock on how the system will work. So what are the repetitive tasks are? Can we do them once and effect can be seen at different places? So most of the time it is done, like it is adopted by industry, most of the industries rather, domain areas. Rather, whenever there is a problem in terms of process design, if at all we have to redesign, then that redesign should help in enhancing operational efficiency. Otherwise, what happens? You are adopting the system and suddenly you found out that it is not fruitful at all to adopt the system. So redesign most of the times is one of the best mechanism for enhancing operational efficiency. Now we talked about paradigms. Sorry, we talked about different approaches. A prototype model, a linear sequential model. Then there could be multiple such aspects included or added there. Now, when one paradigm is adopted, suppose that paradigm said, like for example, all your classes are regular live class. They are not online classes, correct? They are physical. You had them to be physical classes. What happens if we adopt this online kind of mode? Whether all 18 which were supposed to be attending my class are attending the class regularly or not? How do I verify this? Now, if you find any problem in that implementation, then you have to make the changes in terms of transformation. If it is going from 1, 2, 3, 4, we found that it should have gone actually 1, 4, 3, 7, 2, 1, 4. Right. So what are the change that we are doing, or what are the change that we are adopting? We have to really check whether this paradigm shift will it change the nature of the business itself. Example. Now, when grocery shops became online, where I can order that grocery from the shop and I'm supposed to pay these many service charges. So what we said, initially we will try to avoid that online. But after a few days, we identified that that is only the solution. So ultimately, this paradigm shift, that's what I wrote it, like, can even change nature of the business work. So this radical change, if at all it is to be implemented, then it would be always difficult in terms of implementation of that. Correct? Another part would be what we have to balance now. So most of the times we execute the problem statements on trial and error basis. We try something. If it doesn't work, then we try another way. How exactly we are going to address it? How exactly we are going to solve it? How exactly we are going to balance it? If automation, like example is added here, automation, if we say that it reduces the number of errors, but what happens if it is not done by the humans? Then now it will be done by the machine. It will be difficult to adopt. It might reduce efforts, but if it leads to more risk than the traditional risk, then there exists an issue. That's what we said. Automation may reduce errors, but can lead to job displacement. So in general, it is said rationalization would be improving efficiency. But what about resistance? Will it be adopted as it is? It is very challenging task for the peoples who would be implementing that at their level. So there can be multiple different mechanisms which would be applied internally by the system. Like prototype is one of the best, but you cannot waste your time in creating different prototypes. Am I right? And even what are the prototypes those are suggested? Which one would be better? Who is going to decide this? Which one is better for us? So now we have to create an hierarchy where this hierarchy will be helpful to give us suggestion with respect to adoption. Now suppose like at the time of adoption, I gave it rank to be 3 out of 3, say. But when it is to be implemented, then I am trying to neglect it. Now what would be the scenario here? What would be the case? What would be the problem? So if at all that change is adopted at role basis, everyone who is supposed to make the changes. Like for example, here you must have seen, like somebody starts a meeting, I join the meeting and rest of the others then do join the meeting. Recording is done by me. It might be recorded by you too. What if I have a dedicated person whose work only is to record? So we have to define roles and responsibilities for the team whenever we are trying to adopt new technologies or workflows. So in general, it is said in India, like as a computer department's placement coordinator, I have seen this. What generally people do say, like if at all you want to work on with a good project management system, then only one solution for you is TCS, Tata Consultancy Services. So now, if at all this, what are the change that we are saying to adopt with respect to technologies, with respect to workflows, we have to provide training. And which is one of the most crucial mechanism to be adopted. And it is not like that the boss is telling, okay, now you carry on. We cannot do that. It should start from the boss himself or herself. So management must lead by example for foster acceptance. So everyone, every stakeholder should be playing some kind of role in adoption of this new change. Correct. Now, when we say that adoption of new change is to be done, how exactly we are going to assure? So we need to talk about now an holistic view. How that change would be adopted. Now that's what we said. Designing new information system means actually redesigning the organization. And each level, each hierarchy should be properly addressed. And when it is properly addressed, we do see that this redesign would be affecting all levels from top to bottom. Now, how exactly we are going to define these holistic views? Right? How those holistic views would be? So they would be the kind of different techniques that would be adopted by us. So in, like, if at all we have to talk about, say, MIS as an information technology perspective, then there is something called as software process models. 1 minute, I won't share in screen. So these are the different mechanisms or modes, how exactly the software should be developed. Now, as you earlier probably must have used an LMS, it became very easy. It was very easy for you to cope up with the current LMS, despite you haven't used it earlier. It is easy. But even you haven't explored all the features. So ultimately, it is the learning that we carried out is through a spiral approach, as well as agile, because I'm involving you in learning stage. So there could be multiple approaches which may fit according to the problem statement. Now, how exactly you build a building, top down or bottom up? We start with bottom up. Am I right? What if suppose from tomorrow, every building which would be constructed would be top to bottom? How solutions are given by the respective peoples at that end. And this leads to coming up with a good system design, good MIS. Correct. So at least like to this point, I'm saying that we'll stop here. These would be the kind of topics that I covered till date. We are going to consider them as a part of examination. Okay, I am available on WhatsApp. Like you already must have seen the questions. Okay, I suggest you can share your questions. I will share those questions to you peoples which were asked to you separately. 2 questions which were theory questions to be written towards end of the exam. Those questions are somewhere different for every user. Like there was problem 1, problem 2, problem 3, problem 4. So my combination might be 1, 4, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, either of the combination. So it definitely will take for you to like get information about how the questions will be asked. Okay, and most of the questions as per your standard format is for 10 marks. Okay, so I added most of the things rather, and I have added so whatever is visible at your end. See, if I go below, I expect you to go through these.
Screen is not visible,
The
sir.
screen
Screen is not visible.
Sorry. I forgot. Okay, is it visible now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So like these are the things that I shared. Interesting reading material. I don't expect you to read the book now. So you go through them like these 7. These are the different links available. Okay. Then these are the recordings. You can skip them. You can directly go to presentation used for this video. Then for these 3, slide set 2, slide set 3, 1, 3, 2. Okay, all of them are added here. Correct. Even like for yesterday's class, this was added. These are additional files. It should not take, say, more than 5 hours for you to go through all of these, with assumption that you are not viewing the videos completely. If you are simply trying to gain what exactly was taught, you may or may not see the videos. You can go through these files till this one. This is for today. This was for earlier. Right, so you can read them. You can formulate the things. Now this is not visible to you probably. If you have any questions related to exam at later stage, before the exam, you definitely can let me know. I will try to address it as soon as possible. Your
How the
evaluation
exam will be, Mr. Nitin, how the exam will be, the written or how?
written. Like Manish sir will be conducting exam the way that your external examination is.
And
7
it will be
questions.
from the same question, same as this one, huh? We have to follow this one.
Yeah. These topics would be there for your exam. What are the things that are visible at your end when you log in? Okay. You can log in on Moodle. You check it. Most of the things that are visible to you would be part of what you can call it as syllabus. And questions would be general. So I will not be asking, can you describe what is data? What is information? Can you differentiate them? But it might be like you can take real life case studies to explain those concepts. Like in your exam, like what we had day before, I asked in your domain, what would be the scenario? Assignment was given that way only, correct? Second assignment. In your problem domain, how exactly that W5H principle would be useful? Correct? So appropriately, depending upon these concepts, the real-time cases might be used. Okay?
Okay, sir.
So your evaluations would be available to you by tomorrow evening. Okay, I will try to cover up by say, I think your 4 p.m. I will try to cover up it. Everything would be visible towards your end. I already gave you distribution of marks. Okay, for internal. So you.
Nitin sir, I might miss the exam. So what will be the scenario? The internal exam I missed that day.
Okay, have you talked with sir?
Tomorrow I will talk.
So you talk with him, we will work out. Don't worry.
And the assignment date is today last, right? For the second one. Because I didn't get submit.
Yeah.
assignment.
You can add it. I permitted like first assignment, not everyone submitted. I think 3 to 4 of them haven't submitted from you peoples. I can show you that part. 1 minute. Assignment 1 was submitted by 15 peoples only. 13 peoples haven't submitted. Sorry. What I'm saying, 3 peoples haven't submitted yet. So if I try to see them, other. These are the 3. If they submit, then definitely it would be evaluated. But definitely it would be with penalty now because you already bypassed the deadline for assignment 1. Assignment 2, very few earlier has submitted. Now I don't know what is the current scenario. Let us check. Only 14 have submitted. So 4 still are remaining. And I have to evaluate all these 14. So it tells me like 14 are to be evaluated. So once it is done, I will complete evaluation of your answer papers too, today night and probably day tomorrow. I will try to finish everything by tomorrow evening only. If not, then it will take maybe next day morning. If there is some problem in towards my end. Okay. But I will update accordingly in the group.
Sir, can you check if I submit all my assignment? This is Mahmoud. I just need to remember. I don't remember because that's what.
You can check from your login as well.
Yeah, okay.
So you can see from your login, like what is submitted, what is not. Mahmood. This one? This one is you? Mahmood Omar.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is my name.
So yeah, say for example, for this person, it is not submitted. So it tells is overdue by these many hours. So you said submitted for grading. So if I go here, then it tells me that you added a docx. So I have to download it and then I have to evaluate. So most of you, those who submitted docx, it was remaining because somehow yesterday my storage got full and I have to clean up. That's why I could not finish that evaluation. So today I cleaned up everything and I'll finish my evaluation by tomorrow evening. Okay. Any other question?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I asked Dr. Manish for tomorrow's your session, and he said that when everybody will be available in between his class, half an hour he can allot.
Okay.
So
Please let
he
me
will
know
inform.
prior
Yeah.
you let me know so that now actually we addressed everything. No need to have now that part. So you can communicate rest of the members who are not here currently. I can see only 9 people are there. Okay.
Okay.
Rest you can communicate the way that I told, or you can ask them to talk with me. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
In your group, you can share your questions. What are the questions that you submitted? Sorry, that you solved in the exam. Okay, I will share
sir.
questions also so that will give you some brief idea about how the questions would be. Okay, as I
Okay, sir.
stated earlier, like no direct question expecting like you to write what is there kind of. It was meant for only MCQ perspective. Rest of the things would be application of these concepts. Actually, your 7 questions would be based on application of these concepts. Okay, what are the concepts that are seen by us? So I'm hopeful that some of you would take systems as specialization next year, and we will meet again. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank
Okay,
you.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you, sir.
Very
Thank
good,
you.
sir. Thank you. Good night.
Goodbye.
Good night.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.